Hello! Teacher Ray here for another one of your Howell Group Class teaching questions! Yay! This episode is about something vital to all Howell GC teachers, especially for anyone just starting out. Here's the question. What is the optimal way to set up my classroom? Lighting, camera, and background, for example. Good question. I'm actually going to begin with a classroom setup topic that wasn't specifically mentioned in this question. Location. Location, location, location. As in real estate, where you decide to set up your classroom in your home is very important. When choosing that location, you want to choose someplace quiet and somewhat private. You want your classroom to be in a place where nothing and nobody will interrupt your teaching, either audibly or visibly. You'll also want to consider dedicating a specific location to teaching so that your lighting, props, background, etc. will be ready to use each day with minimal effort on your part. I'm lucky in this as I have a home office with plenty of room for a permanent classroom setup. I never have to worry that my props have been left out of reach or that my lights have been moved around. Speaking of lights, let's move on to the first topic of our question. Lighting. When it comes to light, the more the merrier, or brighter in this case. Webcams need bright, even lighting to provide a good quality image. Another purpose of your lighting is to eliminate shadows, especially on your face. There are a few different ways to achieve this shadow-free webcam image. You can use multiple lights as I do. You can use professional videography lights. Or you can use lights designed specifically for webcams and video conferencing. Whatever you decide to use, test it out. Use any recording application you have on your computer to record yourself with the same background you use while teaching. Don't just view yourself on the monitor. Actually record yourself for a few moments. Move around, say hello, give a little wave. Hold up a favorite prop. Then view the recording and see how it looks. Keep adjusting your lighting until the recording shows little to no shadow. I mean, you'll always have some shadow, especially when you use props, but you can reduce them quite a bit. Then, test it out in the AC. Use that new lighting in your next GC lesson and watch the recording later on to see how it looks for your students. Next is your camera, or rather where you appear in your camera, which sometimes requires more than simply adjusting your camera angle. You might also need to raise or lower your computer and or move your seating. To provide the optimal view for your students, you want to be centered in every way, not looking up nor looking down. And you basically want your nose to be smack dab in the middle. You also want to be at a distance that shows your body down to about mid-chest. This doesn't mean that you can never move. What it does is give you room to do so. I often lean in close to show curiosity, or back away to show fear when a student's dinosaur wants to eat me. Ah! I move to the side to show a prop, or when showing something in my background. But for the majority of the lesson, you want to be front and center. Speaking of classroom backgrounds, see what I did there? Yeah. In my opinion, less is more. The optimum background is one that adds rather than detracts or distracts from the lesson. You want something very basic or simple, as well as light in color and somewhat professional. Even though you're teaching from home, You don't want it to look like you're teaching from home. I use curtains because that's what works best in my space. But a plain white wall works just as well, or tarps or wall hangings. So does a window with the curtains closed, as long as those curtains, block out any really bright backlighting. You can also use those privacy or room divider screens. Just be sure that those screens extend past both sides of your camera view so that all that's seen is the screen. A simple background helps your students focus on you, your gestures, your props, your rewards, and any other visuals that you use to enhance their learning. Oh, please be aware that there is such a thing as TMI when it comes to visuals. Visuals, whether displayed in the background, digitally, or handheld, have a sort of magical power to engage your students, and through that engagement, enhance and increase their learning. But, as in all things, there is such a thing as too much. Overloading your classroom with visuals will likely overload your students' brains. And some can even overload your computer. Again, less is more. You want to preserve the magic of your visuals by using them in meaningful ways and at meaningful times, like displaying the digital image of a hammer hitting a nail to demonstrate the word hit. Holding up realia to help your students make stronger connections to the meaning of a word. Or sharing a GIF to demonstrate a concept, like nibble. Or displaying a secondary reward in your background to use as motivation. Which, by the way, only works if you use it. If you're not going to use it, it's best to keep it out of sight. There is much more I could say about visuals, but I'll leave that for another episode. Now it's time for wrap-up! To summarize, the optimal way to set up your classroom is to focus everything on the learning. Put the learning first by placing yourself front and center, eliminating shadows and distractions, and using visuals in meaningful ways. Every Howell GC teacher needs and wants a well set up classroom. So I want to thank this teacher for submitting this practical question. Remember, all questions have value, so don't hesitate to submit your question to Ask Teacher Ray. Just click on the survey link below. Until next time, goodbye. Nothing and nobody will interrupt your teaching, either audibly or visibly.